All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Quick recap of last night's fight. Keyshawn David destroys Dennis Berinchyk, stopping him in 4 rounds. Wasn't really a fight. Just, just the fight was just all wrong. I actually thought it was going to be more competitive than that. Shout out to everyone that made money last night, though. Shout out to everyone that was here, but shout out to everyone that made money. Um, I placed a bet on Keyshawn stopping him. I didn't pick a round, just straight up KO. Um, I know a lot of you picked Keyshawn to stop him later in the fight, but he got him out of there early. And to be honest, Berinchyk only survived because he was holding. He really offensively didn't have anything for Keyshawn. He was too slow. He was too small. Um, Keyshawn wasn't biting on any of his feints, all that extra amount of movement and irky jerky stuff. It worked against Navarrete. It didn't work against Keyshawn. Keyshawn just stood there and he stood right in front of him. He controlled him with the jab from the outside. And then whenever Dennis would just charge in, Keyshawn was ready for him. He went to the body, he hooked, he uppercut, he just Dennis didn't have anything for him. You know, every advantage was towards Keyshawn in this fight. He was quicker, he was bigger. It was a complete mismatch. You know, and that was it. I think like one key thing I said in a breakdown, like yo, the body shots is the key. You know, those guys with those style. I'm talking Lomachenko. I'm talking Usyk, and I know Dennis is not as good as those guys, or even Bostic. But you got to get those guys. You got to catch those guys to the body. Go to the body every single time, especially when they come in. They like to step in, throw their flurries on the inside. You gotta go to the body when they get in. And Dennis really didn't have an answer. It was just only a matter of time. I think by the second round, I was like, yo, he's gonna stop him. He's gonna stop him for sure. Dennis he didn't have anything for him. You know, I know Keshawn is not gonna get a lot of credit now for winning because he's so dominant. It looked like this guy never belonged in there. Everybody's questioning. I'm reading the comments. I just woke up, so I'm not listening to nobody like on YouTube or listening to any analysts or anything like that. I woke up. I watched some of the post fight press conference, interviews with Keyshawn just to see what he was saying. And I was reading the comments and like people was already, he's fighting smaller guys and Dennis is old and the guy's this, the guy that. He's not gonna get credit because he was so dominant, and that's how it be. Before the fight, and I know a lot of people picked him by KO, but before the fight, some people were picking him by points. Not many people picked Dennis to win, but people thought that Dennis would at least give him a tough fight. Um, on paper, Keyshawn just beat two of the most difficult challenges opponents that he had on paper. You know, Gustavo Lemos was coming off of a tough loss to Richardson Hitchens. Where a lot of people thought Lemos kind of won the fight. It was a very, very close fight. And Lemos gave Hitchens, who was a champion at 140 now, a lot of problems. Hitchens is a really, really good boxer. And Lemos gave him hell, right? But Keyshawn gets in there with a guy that was overweight. He's even bigger than he was at 40 when he fought Hitchens. So the guy is heavier, bigger guy, and Keyshawn just handled him like it's nothing. And Keyshawn is growing really, really fast. I mean, the guy standing next to Crawford looked like he's Crawford size right now. You know what I mean? So I doubt he stays at 135 for too long, but he didn't look drained at the weigh-in. He looked sharp last night. I don't know how long he's going to stay at 135. I know he wants a Lomachenko fight. I know he wants a Tank fight. I know he wants big fights right now. But if Tank doesn't fight him, which I wouldn't expect to happen, if Lomachenko doesn't fight him, which I don't expect neither, I don't even know if Lomachenko is going to be boxing anymore, He's not going to fight Shakur Stevenson, because they're boys. So I'm looking at Raymond Murataya. I always say his name wrong. Muay I always struggle saying his name. I'm looking at him because he's the next up in the rankings of the WBO, being that Keshawn is the WBO champ now. Um, I'm looking at Andy Cruz still, I'm looking at William Zepeda if he is to beat Tevin Farmer in their rematch coming up. I'm looking at Frank Martin, if he's still fighting. He's still a 135 guy with a name. But to be honest, there's not much at 135 right now when you really think about it. Because when these guys went up to 140, hey, the big names went up to 140 or 147. Teal, Devin, Ryan, all of those guys. Pitbull's fighting at 140. Pitbull wouldn't fight him anyway. But at the end of the day, there's not many options. Obviously, if he could get a fight with Loma or, Tank, he would definitely would take that. But I don't see those guys fighting. Tank's really selective with his opponents, keeps it in-house. I just don't expect it. I know he's talking about retirement. I know he's talking about he's looking for a big fight after. Maybe he surprises to take it, but I'm not expecting Tank to take this fight. And Loma, I don't know if he's going to retire or not, but I don't expect him to take this as his first fight coming back from being inactive. It's been a year since he's been in the ring, and it was a year when he returned and he beat George Kambosos, who is not nearly on the level of Keshawn right now. So the fights I like that are realistic to me is Raymond Murataya. Who else? I said Andy Cruz, because of the history there. And the other two, Frank Martin, whenever he returns, and this guy, William Zepeda, who's going to be fighting Tevin Farmer soon. So those are realistic fights to me. If you guys got any other opinions, drop the names. But again, Keshawn's not going to get a lot of credit for this. But look, Berinchyk looked really good against Emmanuel Navarrete. Navarrete was what, a 3-4 division champ? People wanted to see him fight Shakur not long ago. I mean, just last year, people wanted to see that fight. Now, the Denny's win against him doesn't really mean anything because this guy got destroyed in a few rounds. Same thing with Lemos. This guy looked great against Hitchens in his last fight before the Keshawn fight. And then Keshawn destroys him. So, what I want to see, well, I like the Raymond fight because Raymond's undefeated. He's more of a boxer puncher, I think stylistically, it'll just be a better matchup. Be a little bit more of a chess match in that fight if they were to fight. I think Keshawn would destroy William Zepeda. I know he's a volume puncher, but once he gets hit with a big shot, he's not going to really have much to keep going with all that volume. Andy Cruz, I was explaining this all last night on a live. Beat him a lot in the amateurs, but like I've said before, Keshawn looks like the better pro fighter right now. You know what I mean? Whatever history they got, the amateurs is completely different. This guy's going to be trying to knock you out. It's a different kind of fighting Andy Cruz. I would be leaning towards Keshawn, but before moving up to 140, if he can continue making 135, and if he can't get those big names, why not just end that history? Cruz is still calling him his son. Why not fight him? If you can't get another fight at 135, and if you want to stay at 135, why not fight him? And Frank Martin, I'm not expecting that fight. It's just another fighter out there that's on the top level at 135. That would be a good fight. The fight that I wanted to see, because there's a little history behind that too. Frank confronted him. They was doing a lot of talk online. Frank, there's some kind of history there. So I would love to see that fight too. All right, but Keshawn looked great. He's big at the weight, but he can still make the weight comfortably for now. But going to 140, there's a lot of names there too. So there's more options at 140 for me. But I'm expecting him to stick around and see if he can get the Tank fight. He's probably waiting for the outcome of this fight with Tank and Lamont Roach. And if Tank takes the fight, which he won't. But if he takes the fight, that'll be a win for Keshawn. But I don't expect that to happen. I honestly expect Tank to fight. Now I don't expect him to fight Shakur neither, but I would expect him to take the Shakur fight over the Keshawn fight. You know what I mean? I just if he were to take one of those two fights, being that Keshawn is bigger, I just wouldn't. I don't think Tank the way he be talking, he be talking too much about the judges, and I don't know. He's kind of scary. He been talking like he's scary lately, so I'm gonna just leave it at that. All right, but anyway, Keshawn, great performance, new champion, young champion, 14 fights, did it in 14 fights, or is it 15 now? Good win. I know people are not going to give you credit for it now, but it was good win. You made me some money, so I'm happy. And keep doing your thing. All right, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good one.